Wanting to take revenge for the death of Xingyang Jia, a martial grandmaster by the name of Xingyang Kun invades martial Flame City, causing great losses. Although Yu Xiao and his allies are able to take him down, Chen Dasheng loses his life in the process, while Meng Wu falls into a comatose. Afterward, the reincarnated soul cleans out the Supreme High Palace's treasury, encountering Li Yi in the process. He then takes revenge for Da Sheng, wiping out the Xingyang family off the face of the planet. Sometime before the massive explosion that wiped out the Xingyang family, Martial Emperor Zhu Jin spots Yun Xiao heading toward the Supreme High Palace. Without a doubt in his mind, the true chi he saw from the boy and his lightning were of the extreme yin frost attribute. Out of all the modern-day sects, only the Supreme High Palace should possess that type of power. However, Zhu Jin is unable to understand why they would feud with the Xingyang family. Right then, the sky starts tearing once again, forming a crack in it like before. Teasing Zhu Jin, the Dust Flame Empire's shrine elder named Ao Di Jia appears at the scene. The latter thinks that the former got extremely lucky to obtain the lightning summoning array for only 300,000 high-tier primordial stones, considering that it's 7th tier or higher. Annoyed that he can't go anywhere without Ao Di Jia, Zhu Jin tells him to go away. The two start bickering, but are soon interrupted by a destructive beam piercing the heavens. Realizing that the massive ray of light is coming from the Xingyang estate, Zhu Jin and Ao Di Jia rush over there as fast as they possibly can. Soaring through the sky, they arrive at the horrific scene in no time. The chilling frost emitted by the crystallized flower causes even a martial emperor like Zhu Jin to cower in fear. Not only that, but the eerie chi has also forced the other old farts that never show themselves to come out of hiding. Gathering around the glacier, the countless martial artists are left in utter disbelief, unable to believe that a centuries-old noble house got eradicated and turned into a piece of art in mere moments. A certain German historical figure could never. They start hypothesizing amongst themselves, concluding that the extreme yin frost chi responsible for the horror show is only used by the Supreme High Palace of the Dust Flame Empire. Ao Di Jia provokes Zhu Jin, insisting that he speak up, since he met up with the culprits earlier. The martial emperor takes offense to these words, lashing out at the implication of him being an accomplice. However, the shrine elder assures him that he isn't interested in his affairs and only feels concerned about how the Xingyang family met its fate. Marveling at the strength of the explosion that killed them, Ao Di Jia wonders if even the martial supremes gathered at the scene could hold their own against it. Feeling threatened by the power surrounding the area, the martial supremes raise their kiss, alerting Zhu Jin. At that precise moment, Xin Pi asks the martial emperor if he is sure that the culprits are really from the Supreme High Palace. Zhu Jin remarks that it's only an educated guess, but feels confident, since no one else in the Dust Flame Empire can use such powerful extreme frost chi. Xin Pi himself isn't concerned with the Supreme High Palace itself. However, he worries about the connections they have with a major sect in the northern region, not wanting them to intervene. Ao Di Jia wonders if the entire event was orchestrated by the powerhouses in Tianwu, looking to get the resources in the southern region. After all, the Xingyang family and the Supreme High Palace have never had a conflict, making a full-blown wipeout like this highly confusing. Zhu Jin doubts this, as the Holy Region's orders would make it impossible for anyone to meddle in the southern region's affairs. He guesses that all of this is over a petty personal grudge, but Ao Di Jia strongly protests against this idea, declaring that superpowers don't listen to the Holy Region. He reminds him of how Gu Feiyang eradicated all life within 4,000 miles of the Eastern Sea, and then led an all-out raid on the Holy Region, demanding them to fall under him. However, instead of fighting back, the Holy Region activated their main defensive arrays and just went into seclusion. Give them a break, man, though we're up against the goat. Hearing this, Zhu Jin feels that Ao Di Jia is intentionally being unreasonable. The military breaker Go Feiyang, the Bo family, and the emperors of the Four Seas, these massive forces joining hands, could destroy the entire southern region in one shot. Not to mention that the immortal golden body of the Terrant martial sovereign, Ao Chang Kong, and the divine capital's 3 great saints were with them too, leaving the Holy Region with no other choice. Still, Ao Di Jia thinks that they can't even control the superpowers like the Heavenly Night Palace, Crimson Crescent City, the Beiming Palace, and the Heavenly Draconic Family. Dude got him making up names now. Ignoring Zhu Jin after agitating him, the shrine elder turns over to Xin Pi, asking him about his opinion, since the Dust Flame Empire belongs to the Xin family. Proclaiming that they should make irrational guesses at the moment, Xin Pi puts Zhu Jin in charge of investigating the situation, because he has already met the people responsible. The Xin family's elder worries that Xingyang Huo, who is currently in seclusion, is going to go insane after finding out what has become of his family and questions how he is going to explain it to him. Zhu Jin snarks, blatantly insinuating that the Martial Supremes deserved this for staying on the sidelines until something like this happened. This enrages Xin Pi, who flips it on Zhu Jin for not doing his job as an elder of the shrine. However, the Martial Emperor maintains that he couldn't possibly have known that something like this would happen. After all, the strongest members of the Supreme High Palace were at most one-star martial grandmasters. Left in doubt about them being the culprits by these words, Xin Pi decides to think about it later and focuses on sealing the extreme Frost Yin Qi for now, not wanting High Sun City to fall to something like this. Surrounding the gigantic crystallized flower, all the Martial Supremes work together to set up a large array. With this, the extreme Yin Frost Qi is contained within the Xingyang family's territory, protecting it from spreading throughout the Dust Flame Empire. After confirming that the situation is stable, Xin Pi permits everyone to return, asking them to be careful of any suspicious personnel entering the empire. Soon, the news of the Xingyang family's demise spread throughout High Sun City. As the massive glacial flower behind the seal became a major attraction for the people, the emperor sent out city guards to keep them out. However, it was too late by that point, as the citizens had already made up their minds about the lightning being God's wrath toward the Xingyang family for their evil deeds. Emin's sisters. Outside of High Sun City, though, the extreme Yin Frost Qi at the place of the incident convinced everyone that the Supreme High Palace was responsible for the attack. Only one person managed to correctly guess the truth, being Ding Ling'er of the Tianyuan Commerce Guild. Yurong refuses to believe her, wondering why Yun Xiao would still be in Martial Flame City if he possesses the strength to take over the Dust Flame Empire. The young lady doesn't believe it herself, but for some reason, she is sure that Yun Xiao is the one responsible for ending the Xingyang family. Ma Tianhe, the strongest person in the Supreme High Palace, is only a 3-star martial grandmaster. In total, there are only 4 martial grandmasters in the sect. So, even if the entire sect were gathered together, the Xingyang family would make quick work of them. However, Yurong argues that Martial Flame City's strongest individual is a mere 9-star martial king, meaning that destroying the Xingyang family for them is an even more absurd feat. Heck, the old man goes even further and calls it the funniest joke Ding Ling has ever said. The girl herself is confused, especially since investigating the mysterious entity known as Li Yun Xiao proved to be utterly useless, as Ding Ling wonders what critical piece of information they are missing. Yurong insists that she is just overthinking. He thinks that there's no chance of Yun Xiao being responsible for the Xingyang family's demise. After all, their investigative agency is one of the best ones in the entire Tianwu continent. If they wanted, they could even find out the most personal details about a small-time city lord, meaning that there's no chance of any information being missing. However, Ding Linger's gut feeling is just too strong. She declares that from this day onwards, Martial Flame City will be their #1 VIP. So, the Tianyuan Commerce Guild will provide them with whatever they want to the best of their abilities. Hearing this, Yurong questions if the young lady is in her right mind. Of course, declares Ding Ling'er, proclaiming that this will be the greatest investment of her life. The old fart wonders if the girl has fallen for Yun Xiao, making her blush, and another one bites the dust. Flustered, Ding Ling'er huffs and puffs, throwing Yurong out of her room. However, this reaction only convinces the old man that the young lady can't be kept unmarried for much longer. As Yurong leaves, Ding Ling'er imagines Yun Xiao looking all handsome and stuff. The thought makes her turn red as a tomato, and she lets out a small chuckle. Meanwhile, in High Sun City, the Chung family's current patriarch, Chung Feng, plays a game of Go with the 6th-tier refiner, Bai Ligong Jin. The two of them have been analyzing a position set by the royal throne martial sovereign, Tang Guang, for half a month and half a year respectively, both to no avail. Called the Heaven and Earth Go position, it contains the martial sovereign's unmatched understanding of formations. It is said that whoever is able to solve it will receive the 800 volumes on formations written by Tang Guang, making them the generation's formation master. Ranked 7th on the major power chart, This position by the royal throne is being analyzed by countless people in the holy region, looking to understand the formations within. They must not be very smart then, no. Even without fully understanding it, many have been able to improve their cultivation greatly, just by comprehending the martial intent in the position. So, Gong Jin hopes that Chung Feng can also increase his already shocking strength with it. The 6th-tier refiner then mentions that Tang Guang wants to take a disciple, but hasn't been able to find someone worthy enough. As such, the person who can understand the martial sovereign's go position will become his disciple as well. Hearing these words, Chung Feng drools at the thought of getting the royal throne's teaching for his family, since it could help them compete against even the Heaven-gathering sect. Suddenly, Gong Jin remembers hearing about someone who might be able to solve it. Chung Feng questions who he is talking about, getting reminded of how a youth in Tian Shuai saw Yang Di's painting a while back. However, the patriarch thinks that this youngling can't be that smart if he exchanged a favor from Yang Di with the Wang family to save his small-time princess. Moreover, since it was just a hidden message from Gu Feiyang dissing Yang Di, the idiotic youth probably managed to solve it by pure luck. Of course, to Gong Jin, luck is also a skill, as even Yuan Hao thinks highly of him. The 6th-tier refiner thinks that it's worth a try. With a cold sneer, Chung Feng declares that he's going to find this youth, even if Tang Guang's go position hadn't been a factor. After all, the one they are talking about is the Martial Flame City Lord, Li Yun Xiao, the man responsible for murdering a disciple of the Chung family, and Xingyang Jia. The patriarch had previously hoped that the Xingyang family could take care of Yun Xiao themselves, leaving his hands blood-free, but they got hit with a disaster. At the worst possible time. I wonder how, I wonder why. Gong Jin feels uneasy about the timing of the incident and wonders if it's related to Martial Flame City or Yun Xiao. Chung Feng laughs in response, thinking that the refiner is letting his imagination run a little too wild, considering even the entirety of Tian Shuai working together wouldn't be able to destroy the Xingyang family. Moreover, if Martial Flame City was responsible for the ice that killed them, it wouldn't be nobody's, since it even has the 7 constellations realm martial emperors cowering in fear. However, Gong Jin still thinks that something is up with the entire incident, having heard that Xingyang Ming stole the Supreme High Palace's treasures during Ma Fei Bai's banquet and also killed their disciples. He deems it reasonable for them to fight back like this. Of course, the 6th-tier refine couldn't ever have imagined that the Supreme High Palace was hiding such immense strength. This worries Chung Feng greatly too, making him wonder if the modern sect has been sent by a superpower from the northern region. Gao Jin guesses that the Beiming Palace, eyeing Mount Meru, is involved even though no one has heard any news of them in the past 100 years. Chung Feng agrees, albeit questioning why the Xingyang family would try to rob the Supreme High Palace, knowing the risks involved. He thinks that there's something else going on, getting told that it doesn't matter either way, since the Xingyang family is no more. Only the peak 9-star martial grandmaster, Xingyang Huo, remains, who will undoubtedly head for the Supreme High Palace as soon as he catches wind of what's happened. When he does, it will be the perfect time for them to test if the Supreme High Palace was bluffing or not. As Mount Meru will open up soon, everything is bound to become clear in a few months. In the same vein, Gao Jin mentions that there's something mysterious about Martial Flame City's sudden rise to power, and his name is John Cena. Once again, though, Chung Feng concludes that all the recent events surrounding them only mean that they are either pawns sent by a great power, or just a bunch of idiots wanting attention. Moreover, the Thousand Treasures Tower has also denied the rumors about them backing Martial Flame City. Of course, since Chung Feng and Gao Jin are not in a position to interrogate them or the Beiming Palace about the situation forcefully, the two decide to just watch how it unfolds for now and go back to analyzing the Heaven and Earth go position. Elsewhere in High Sun City, the Zhou family's higher-ups discuss the Xingyang family's demise in their own meeting room, arriving at the same conclusion as the Chung family. Jovian Biao, the family patriarch, feels that the Xingyang family's annihilation is just a prelude to more destruction that is about to follow. To him, all the recent incidents point to Li Yun Xiao being a puppet of some great force, wanting to bait the Zhou family into making a rash decision. The two elders, Zhou Chu and Zhou Xing, become enraged at this public declaration of war, with the latter especially getting angry at how Yun Xiao deciphered Yang Di's painting, and just gave away the resulting favor to the Wang family. The elder comes up with a scheme to make Tian Shui's princess into Yushan's concubine, hence breaking the Wang family's promise to Yun Shiyao and not getting Yang Di's favor in return. Wait, bro was onto something. However, Zhou Chu advises against it, since the Wang family's experts are keeping a close watch on their residence without even bothering to hide it. For the sake of Yushan, who is currently training in seclusion, the elder doesn't want to make any mistakes at this crucial time. Zhou Xing then questions what they should do about the 5-line tripod, to which Zhou Biyao responds, revealing that they no longer require it, since he has already increased Yushan's cultivation by force, using 2 cauldrons. Hearing these words, the 2 elders get alerted. After all, these cauldrons are actually 2 martial experts who use their own true yuan to raise another martial artist's cultivation base forcefully. Although a person's strength can rapidly increase in a short amount of time, the gain is not only limited, but also fraudulent. Raising someone's cultivation base like this also requires a martial artist at least 2 major realms above them. Moreover, the so-called cauldron's true yuan will be exhausted in the process, effectively crippling them for life. As Zhou Yushan is a mere martial lord, raising his cultivation base by force would require the cauldrons to be at least martial grandmasters, a level at which a person can form an entire sect and dominate an area in Tianwu's southern region. Straight up sacrificing 2 great experts like this to raise an heir's strength, only the 4 great noble families have the luxury to do such a thing. Nepotism for the win. Keeping in mind the sacrifices he is making for Yushan, the family patriarch doesn't want to get directly involved in the current incidents. In the end, he decides to send the 2 elders to investigate Martial Flame City and the Supreme High Palace, instructing them to avoid any conflict and immediately report back if they find something. Finally, Zhou Biyao gives a motivational address to the elders, putting emphasis on the incoming opening of the southern region's secret realm, Mount Meru. Back over with Yun Shiyao, he silently returns to Martial Flame City after his little trip to Supreme High Palace. Xiao Qingwang worries about getting figured out by the last remaining member of the Xingyang family, who is an elder of the Heaven Gathering sect and possesses unimaginable cultivation prowess. If he were to come to Martial Flame City, it would spell doom for them. Of course, fooling Xingyang, Huo, or not doesn't matter, since Yun Shiyao always intended to retaliate openly, and it was only sped up by Chen Da Shum's untimely demise. The reincarnated soul declares that instead of worrying about external forces, they should focus on improving themselves, as wiping out the Xingyang family will have instilled some fear in the supposedly esteemed noble families. No one will dare mess with Martial Flame City, at least for the time being, allowing them an opportunity to increase their strengths. So, Yun Shiyao gathers Heaven's Core, Heaven's Resolve, and Heaven's Judgment, taking them to Square Inch Mountain inside the World God Monument. For a little bit, the martial artists are left in utter disbelief, deeming it to be the reason that Martial Flame City has risen up in power in such a short amount of time. They aren't particularly wrong either, as this is a one-of-a-kind legendary item, even considering Yun Xiao's life as Gu Fei Yang. Turning to Nun Fei Chun, the reincarnated soul questions if this fulfills the conditions he promised him. Without hesitation, the sect master announces that it does, going as far as to declare that the training grounds are much better than promised. He now fully believes in Yun Xiao's words, trusting that the legendary item will allow Martial Flame City to become a superpower within the Dust Flame Empire. Absolute W glaze. Right then, using his control within the World God Monument, the boy teleports himself and starts floating midair. He addresses everyone present, announcing that the interior of the Pill Tower will serve as their new training grounds from now on. To that end, Yun Shiyao has divided the grounds into 4 sections, one each for warriors of the First Origin, 2 forces, 3 powers, and 4 quadrants. Inside them, he has put 10-fold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold, and 10,000-fold gravity fields for the respective cultivation levels. As for the Martial Lord training grounds, countless surprises await them beside the 10,000-fold gravity field. Hearing this, the martial artists are overcome with fear, worrying that they have walked into certain death. As if he were reading their minds, Yun Shiyao announces that a martial artist's path is an upstream battle. To him, the higher cultivation levels aren't hard to break through, because the difficulty rises, but rather because the martial artists become complacent and don't keep up with their training efforts. The thought of a great martial master training in a 100-fold gravity field, or a martial lord training in a 1,000-fold one, makes Yun Shiyao laugh. Breaking through is all about shattering one's limits, so they can never do so if they don't put their lives on the line. Having enough talent or resources, None of it matters when it comes to cultivation. Yu Xiao declares that anyone who struggles with breaking through is simply not brave, strong, or determined enough. Blood is cooking them, like Kendrick cooked Drake. Hearing the reincarnated soul's words, the martial artists realize that he is completely right. Since no one ever put enough pressure on them, they didn't bother putting in more effort than the bare minimum and held themselves back from breaking through. Yun Xiao continues, reiterating his promise to give them anything and everything for cultivation, as long as they follow him and train hard. Although the resources inside the tower will be made available for the martial artists without any limit, they are for them and them alone. If anyone dares to smuggle anything outside, Yun Xiao vows to grant them a ruthless demise. As even having unlimited resources is a privilege unheard of anywhere in the world, the boy's own allies are shocked by his speech. The independent martial artists present feel that they are having a fever dream, while Nung Fei Chun realizes that the Sky Locust sect wouldn't have had to stay in Qiyun Peak for countless centuries if Yun Xiao had come around before. Even for Qian Duo, who comes from a place of wealth and has seen pretty much everything out there, the prospect of unlimited resources defies all logic. Right then, Li Chunyang questions what everyone has been thinking all this time. That is, how Yu Xiao plans to sustain the amount of resources, if he is this generous with them. Always the party pooper, the reincarnated soul announces that they will get them like how they have been getting their resources all along, from everywhere, robbing or plundering. Nothing is off limits. As long as they have the strength to do so, going back out to take more resources is fair game. Everyone becomes speechless at this proclamation, prompting Yu Xiao to double down. He reminds them that all the superpowers in Tianwu fought for their resources and are now residing in energy-filled mountain ranges, never caring about sharing these abundant resources. Since ancient times, the strong have preyed on the weak, so Yu Xiao is only following that rule. Understanding that the boy is only speaking the truth yet again, the martial artists get riled up, refusing only to let Tianwu's superpowers enjoy such luxury. Fueled by a collective desire to get stronger, they shout and cheer in unison. In his closing words, Yun Xiao instructs the martial artists to work hard and warns them of the consequences of falling behind. Later, the reincarnated soul heads over to Mengwu, noting that the spirit-nourishing wood is the sea folk's treasure, condensed from the life energy through the Kungo divine tree. Wait, did we end up in the wrong series again? Anyways, only the 4 great royal families in the Bo family might be holding on to some, but Yun Xiao obviously can't get any if he just goes to them, leaving him with only one option: regaining his full strength and forcing himself in. However, as that won't be happening anytime soon, he worries that Mengwu won't last till then. Yun Xiao then turns over to the mythic cloud-shaking Thunder Beast, which still hasn't woken up after taking the second adversity-destroying pill. Since monsters have less chance of breaking through than humans, due to the rules on their bloodlines, the boy's little miss will stay a 5th-tier beast, unless, of course, a truly powerful material or mutation shows up. Currently stuck at the 5 Elements realm's bottleneck, it is using a slow-gathering technique to get energy from the surroundings. Petting the mythic cloud-shaking Thunder Beast, Yun Xiao remarks that breaking through now is all up to it. Right then, he feels venomous energy coming from somewhere, prompting him to quickly teleport toward its location. Deep inside the cave, Yun Xiao spots Mumbai emitting copious amounts of toxic qi, activating his Yuan energy, toxic qi shield. The former approaches the latter. Seeing the eggshell nearby, Yun Xiao realizes that Mumbai really ate the whole egg at once, that too by the most nutritious method, raw. Although the poison rodent was simply to draw out the toxins inside the key's body, it has now left him curled up with the toxic qi running rampant. Yun Xiao moves out, vowing to find a better primer for Mumbai, to push him a step forward. Just like that, the reincarnated soul arrives at High Sun City and heads straight for the place where the best refiners within hundreds of miles gather, the Dust Flame Empire Alchemist Association branch. Despite the streets seeming very peaceful without a single martial artist roaming them, Yun Xiao understands that many gazes are monitoring every single movement within the entire capital, which is on high alert due to the Xingyang family's demise. Soon, he arrives before the Dust Flame Empire's Alchemist Association, knowing that a 6th-tier master-class refiner lies ahead. Yun Xiao understands that he has to be careful, since his power is way beyond that of Tian Shuoi's Alchemist Association. Heading inside, though, Yun Xiao finds the Dust Flame Empire's Alchemist Association to be practically deserted. He approaches the beautiful receptionist to ask what's happening, getting told to stay quiet since an instruction convention is going on, a tradition in which every refiner hosts a public seminar when they get promoted to share their wisdom regarding alchemy and breaking through. Whispering close to Yun Xiao, the girl reveals that their Lord Bi Qianjin is holding his instruction convention. After breaking through to third tier, making the boy reminisce about the time Yun Shan tried to make him Jia Rong's disciple. Ah, the good old days when Jia Rong was still a relevant character. At the same time, he discreetly takes a sniff of the beautiful receptionist and starts flirting with her. Being used to such things, the girl assumes that Yun Xiao is just a spoiled young lord from a noble family, who is here to ask for some goods and hands him a form, instructing him to fill in his request and payment clearly. Much to her surprise, he instantly writes down what he wants without even looking, seeing that the boy wants the blood of a demon beast above 4th tier, and will discuss its price in person. She warns him that such a rare item will take an incredible amount of luck and price to find. Understanding that the receptionist is right, Yun Xiao thinks about asking the association master for the precious materials later. Suddenly, his train of thought gets interrupted by a weird smell, coming from the sword being refined in the instruction convention. Pitying that the item is going to be ruined when it's so close to taking shape, Yun Xiao tells the receptionist to get away, unless she wants to get hurt by the explosion. Meanwhile, he gets closer to observe, blatantly announcing that the new 3rd-tier refiner's abilities can't keep up with his efforts to forcefully refine a 3rd-tier Shuan weapon. Hearing this, all the refiners present dismiss his words as an ignorant kid's ramblings. On the other hand, someone sends a private sound transmission to Yun Xiao, questioning why he is doubting the 3rd-tier refiner when the sword is about to take shape. As the voice warns him to stop speaking about things he doesn't know of, the boy turns over to where it's coming from and gets alerted by what he sees. Yun Xiao then asks the tiny old man if he wants to make a bet, making him wonder if his true strength has been exposed. However, the old man chalks it up to overthinking on his part and decides to entertain the bet for now. Yun Xiao declares that the loser will have to listen to the winner's orders for a year. With this, the old man is left questioning if his true strength has really been somehow found out and tries to slither his way out of the bet. However, Yun Xiao provokes the geezer's pride, leading him to agree to the bet, albeit with snarky comment about the boy's family making trouble for him if he loses. Of course, Yun Xiao flips it on the old man, using this remark to reveal that he knows about him being a 7-star martial grandmaster master. This leaves the geezer in utter disbelief, as there's a secret technique on his body, rendering regular people unable to see through his cultivation. On the other hand, Yun Xiao feels relieved that he got a 7-star martial grandmaster to back him so easily at such a crucial time for Martial City. While the two banter, a commotion arises from the instruction convention. Lo and behold, just like Yun Xiao predicted, the sword suddenly becomes unstable, leaving everyone there wondering how he knew that it was going to explode so far in advance. As Bi Qianjin struggles to keep the sword in check, another 3rd-tier refiner, Manhua, jumps in to help him out. The two prepare to stabilize the violent energy with the form conversion technique, condensing it with their spirit power afterward. Nah, these translator notes are trolling us. What do you mean they mixed up spirit power, used by refiners with soul power, used by martial artists this entire time? Not even John Wary messes up this bad. Back over with Yun Xiao, the 7-star martial grandmaster grins at him, thinking that the situation is turning around for the better. Of course, the reincarnated soul knows the reality. He loudly tells everyone the 3rd-tier refiners couldn't have solved the problem with just a few movements, but instead chose to make it worse by doing all that extra stuff with their spirit power and form conversion technique. Now, the Shuan weapon will explode with a strength many times greater than before in 10 breaths' time. Getting sick and tired of Yun Xiao's shenanigans, everyone starts talking down on him. Meanwhile, the old man prays to the heavens for the boy to be wrong. Completely unbothered by the peasants, Yun Xiao begins the count. 1, 2. As the count reaches 6, the refiners lose control over the sword, and it starts running wild. At the count of 7, the martial grandmaster's eyes pop out of his skull in utter dismay. Unable to believe that not even 2 3rd-tier refiners could suppress the incomplete sword, the old man wonders how Yun Xiao knew this was going to happen so early. At the same time, Bi Qianjin asks everyone to run away, since the sword is going to explode. As the count reaches 8, a stampede begins. Valuing their own lives above everyone else, all the selfish refiners make a run for it, even trampling over a second-tier refiner, wanting to go first in the process. Turning over to the 7-star martial grandmaster, Yun Xiao asks him if he is going to admit his loss now. Of course, the old man is still in disbelief and wonders how the boy knew. Liking honesty oozing from the geezer's worried expression, Yun Xiao marches toward the incomplete sword, looking to save it with 2 counts left. Meanwhile, the 2 third-tier refiners try their hardest to buy as much time as they can for the others. As the reincarnated soul approaches them, they question why he is not running away and inform him of the dangers of staying there. Seeing the 2 third-tier refiners unfazed in the face of death and even risking their lives for others, Yun Xiao is moved by their integrity and helps them out. Pointing his hand outward, the reincarnated soul forms a flaming seal, blowing away the spirit power that Biqian Jin and Zhang Hua were using to contain the incomplete sword. At first, they are convinced that Yun Xiao has a death wish. Nah, he don't got a skill issue like you lil bros. Of course, reality soon sets in, as the Shuan weapon's violet energy starts mellowing out. Yun Xiao then makes incredibly fast hand signs, shocking the 2 third-tier refiners and the 7-star martial grandmaster. The geezer finally understands the boy isn't just a spoiled brat who has only started alchemy, as using such complex techniques and movements requires a person to overcome countless challenges. Through Yun Xiao's intervention, the sword doesn't explode even after the 10 count, making the old man realize that he has lost to the mysterious teenager. However, at this moment, he uncontrollably lets a smirk slip. Meanwhile, the refiners who ran outside are left wondering what's going on. Considering the place hasn't blown up even after 10 counts, thinking too highly of themselves, they decide that their lives are way more valuable than the receptionist Fang. So, the refiners for the poor girl inside to check out the situation. With tears flowing down her face, Fang enters the Alchemist Association and starts trembling in fear. The other refiner tells her to hurry up, forcing the girl to drag herself inside. Much to Fang's surprise, though, Yun Xiao is playing with the sword that was about to explode earlier, while using another refiner as a seat. Everyone present is even taking a lecture from him, while extensively scribbling down notes to record his wisdom. Right then, Biqian Jin, referring to Yun Xiao as master, politely asks why the sword ran wild before, even though 2 third-tier refiners were containing its violent energy together. Declaring the answer to be simple, the reincarnated soul demands a glass of water before he tells them. Fang tries to skedaddle out of there, only to get jumped by all the refiners there. Hurling countless insults at the receptionist, they force her to bring the glass of water to Yun Xiao. I can save her, for real. As the boy sips on his drink, Fang attempts to excuse herself, but gets ordered by the refiners to stay beside their master to serve him. Suddenly, Yun Xiao smashes the glass of water in rage, questioning the attitude he is seeing. Getting up from his human chair, he furiously approaches Fang while she continues to tremble in fear. As he places his hand on her shoulder, everyone looks on in anticipation at what is about to follow. Much to Fang's surprise, Yun Xiao reprimands the refiners for treating a pretty lady like her in such a harsh manner. Generational simping. After all, a true refiner must have a heart of gold. So if they treat a beautiful woman like this, he can't even imagine how they treat normal people. To the raging Yun Xiao, none of them are fit to call themselves refiners. Hearing his words, everyone starts treating Fang with more care than they ever have in their entire lives, just to prove that they have kind and loving hearts. One of the refiners gifts the receptionist 100 middle-tier primordial stones as a reward for her years-long service, while the others rally to increase her salary by 100 times. Just like that, Yun Xiao's flirtatious nature changes a broke girl's life, as the refiners vow to pay Fang from their own pockets if they can't get the Alchemist Association to approve her raise. She starts crying at their generosity and looks at Yun Xiao with grateful eyes. Remarking that they seem like decent people based on what they just did, the reincarnated soul decides to continue his earlier lecture and sits back on his human chair. Looking on, the 7-star martial grandmaster can't believe that the refiners have fallen so low that they are begging someone else like a dog, and wonders whatever happened to their prior arrogance. At the same time, he questions what mighty force could have trained such a young, high-tier refiner like Yun Xiao, who has disciplined even third-tier refiners into obedience. A 15-year-old who, aside from being a master refiner, is also a 1-star great martial master. The old man is left questioning where and when. a talent like him appear in the Dusk Flame Empire. Your time is up, old man. Meanwhile, Yun Xiao continues his explanation and is about to refer to Bi Qianjin as master. However, the third-tier refiner begs the reincarnated soul not to torture him by addressing him like that, wanting to be called Little B or Little Jean. Fulfilling his wishes, Yun Xiao tells Little G the exact reason for his earlier failure and makes Fang realize that he isn't the lunatic young lord she thought he was. The explanation leaves the refiners in even more shock, as making such detailed observations just by observing the fluctuations in the Shuan artifact's energy is an impossible feat. Still having doubts, the 7-star martial grandmaster questions how Yun Xiao managed to suppress the violent energy, presenting his own hypothesis about it. Of course, his guess is completely off, and the reincarnated soul actually performed another impossible feat of repairing the materials damaged by the third-tier refiners. Blood is just built different. Hearing these words, everyone present loses their minds, considering refinement is supposed to be an irreversible process. Yun Xiao declares this notion to be rubbish and gives a heartfelt speech about the importance of Tian Wu's priceless materials, especially those in the higher tiers. For him, to understand the structure of the materials is to understand the process of refining. So, by guiding the damaged materials to reparation, a skilled refiner can go through the refinement process without diminishing the effects. Although theoretically possible, the idea would require a terrifying degree of control and mastery, leaving the refiners in awe. Trampling over one another, they rush to ask certain questions that they have been stuck on, only to get shut up by the reincarnated soul. Being the very busy person that he is, Yun Xiao refuses to answer their questions for free. However, the refiners' teary eyes and eagerness to learn make him come around. Ah, guess he's not as big of a meanie as he pretends to be. He reluctantly agrees to answer their queries, so long as there are no more than 3 questions per person, with the maximum number of questions being 50 in total. Referring to Fang as beautiful, Yun Xiao asks her to select and organize the 50 questions. Since his flirting knows no bounds, he leaves the selection completely up to the girl, giving her full power to accept those she likes and reject those she doesn't, promising to send someone over to get the questions from her in a few days, and answering all of them at once when he deems fit. Yun Xiao heads out. After bidding farewell to their master, all the refiners turn over to Fang and glare at her like hungry dogs. Meanwhile, Yun Xiao heads outside the Alchemist Association, now accompanied by his newly acquired underling, the 7-star martial grandmaster. Seeing him leave, the refiners who ran away earlier rush inside to get a gist of the situation. However, the sight that awaits them leaves the group in utter dismay. The useless receptionist they sent inside to inform them of what's going on is sitting atop a human chair, surrounded by a group of refiners bowing before her. Loki must be messing the timeline again. Overcome with fury, an arrogant second-tier refiner starts talking down on Fang and tries to kick her, but Zhang Hua blocks it with his body. Like a chivalrous hero, the third-tier refiner vows to take even 1,000 more kicks for Fang and declares her as his sworn sister. Of course, the motive behind his actions comes out soon enough, as he begs the receptionist to take his questions to Yun Xiao. Cheering on for Zhang Hua, the refiners start beating up the fool who missed everything and attempted to assault Fang. Standing over his toppled body, they ask Fang to pass her judgment on him for his crimes. A huge commotion follows, and everyone tries to sweet-talk the receptionist into getting their questions to Yun Xiao, leaving the poor girl wishing for someone to save her. Elsewhere, Yun Xiao has a cup of tea with the 7-star martial master and impresses him by deducing extremely fine details about the tea with just its taste. Introducing himself, the boy asks the old man to address him as young Master Yun, and offers him a salary of 100,000 high-tier primordial stones for his year-long service. The geezer calls for a timeout, questioning if the boy has no respect for elders or martial experts, and really intends to make an old 7-star martial master serve him for a year. Reprimanding the Grams for trying to play tricks, Yun Xiao takes back the salary offer and decides to give him just the basic necessities for his service. Quickly backtracking on his words, the 7-star martial grandmaster questions what Yun Xiao wants him to do in his 1 year of service, asking some annoying things to follow it up. At the same time in his mind, the old man realizes that the boy's alchemy knowledge is exceptional for his age, so forming a good relationship with him this soon will prove to be beneficial in the future. Reminding the geezer to call him young Master Yun, the reincarnated soul tells him not to worry about things like whose kid he is. Yu Shiyao then sarcastically demands that the oh-so-great martial grandmaster introduce himself first, naively thinking that the brat is finally being respectful toward him. The geezer reveals his name to be Duan Yue, wanting to be called Old Duan. Overflowing with mischief, the reincarnated soul does the exact opposite to annoy the 7-star martial grandmaster. Shrugging aside the disrespect, little Yue lets out a smirk and questions if Yun Xiao is looking for the poison blood of 4th-tier demon beast or above. Since the old man is right on point, the boy suppresses his excitement. Give this man his Oscar. Pretending like he just wants one to play with, Yun Xiao wonders if Duan Yue has done, making him sigh and deny the idea. However, the cunning geezer does know the whereabouts of some such beasts. Duan Yue declares that he knows where to find poisonous monster blood, thinking that he has some valuable information. Of course, Yun Xiao announces that the locations are all too obvious: the Land of the Devils, the Tianandong Mountains, the Ancient Barrens, the Glided Desert, the Reincarnated Soul wonders if Duan Yue wants him to name more places, leaving him in a state of utter shock. Trying to cope with his failure, the geezer questions who would decide to go to such places, when even Gu Feiyang died in the Tiandong Mountains, and suggests going somewhere with a higher chance of success. Feeling a bit offended by the mention of his past life, Yun Xiao wonders if any mountain nearby has a few 4th-tier monsters residing in it, getting told that there's one with sea monsters in it. Hearing this, the reincarnated soul guesses the place he is talking about to be a small region in the South Sea beside the Heaven-Sent Empire. Duan Yue confirms this, reiterating his earlier phrase about how easy it is to talk to smart people. The old man thinks that hunting down a beast with 4th-tier monster blood would be a walk in the park, only to get shut down by Yun Xiao. Questioning if the geezer thinks that he is stupid, the reincarnated soul ambushes him with numerous factual tidbits on why he is wrong. Domain expansion, Lord Dumb. Overwhelmed, Duan Yue is left wondering how Yun Xiao knows so much at his age and brings out his trump card, a map of the most important locations, harboring priceless treasures. Seeing the Kangmo divine tree marked on it, Yun Xiao jumps up in surprise and loses his cool, alerting the old man. Of course, he soon catches himself and pretends like it's just his passionate refiner spirit burning at the sight of a priceless material. Usually, the information about the Kangmo divine tree wouldn't matter much, since it often circulates around. However, as Meng Wu is in a coma right now and requires the Kangmo divine tree's spirit-nourishing wood for her treatment, the material has become a priority. Analyzing the sea locator map carefully, Yun Xiao decides to accept Duan Yue's proposal and dominantly tells him to name his price, along with his ulterior in detail. The geezer shouldn't try to play dumb either, as he would have never shown it to Yun Xiao otherwise. Although a bit scared that Yun Xiao saw through him in such a manner, Duan Yue acts tough and confirms that he needs his help. In fact, the 7-star martial grandmaster went to the Alchemist Association to ask Bi Qianjin for the same thing, but he wasn't good enough. So he's considering Yun Xiao now. Of course, the boy is aware that Duan Yue wants to deceive and use a youth like him, since he possesses strong spirit power. The geezer doesn't deny the allegations, but laments that he found the wrong person in the end anyway. After all, if Duan Yue had known that Yun Xiao was so cunning, he would have just gone to a higher-tier refiner. Turns out, not wanting to get scammed by the other person, and instead scamming an inexperienced youth, wasn't such a good idea. Being the professional troll that he is, Yun Xiao, with childlike sparkling eyes, wonders what experience a 15-year-old like him would have. Stopping himself from beating up the disrespectful brat, Duan Yue chugs down some tea and dumps some lore on the reincarnated soul, near the region of the South Sea that holds extremely valuable treasures. A small town called Verdant Seaport exists, which is one of the busiest places in the entire southern region. Countless businesses, large powers, Commerce Alliance representatives, and hunters all flock to Verdant Seaport in an effort to accumulate resources. Duan Yue is one of the hunters who kill and trade sea monsters for a living, having made a pretty decent reputation for himself. During one of his heroic escapades, the leader of a team gifted him a map of a rainbow fog, as thanks for saving them from a complete wipeout. Being a weird occurrence that appears out at sea, the rainbow-like fog covering its surface can't be seen through even by universal detect. Moreover, once the rainbow fog appears, that part of the sea warps, creating a tunnel that transports anyone who enters to another part of the sea, giving it great investigative value. Bro is just yapping at this point, since the map Duan Yue possesses has been marked with a fixed rainbow fog. It's practically priceless, despite the few massive risks like ending up in a habitat of high-tier sea monsters. Of course, Yun Xiao is even further ahead than what the geezer thinks, because he has experienced the rainbow fog firsthand. One of the most popular stories in Tianwu is about the time when the military breaker martial sovereign, Hu Feiyang, massacred seafolk over an area, spanning 4,000 miles just to save a friend, turning the surrounding seawater red with the blood of his enemies. However, this is only a story humans came up with to feel good about themselves. In reality, if confronted by the thousands upon thousands of mighty seafolk, even all of the 9 heaven realms, including the top 10 of the major power chart, wouldn't stand a chance, getting chased by the seafolk for 4,000 miles. Hu Feiyang actually did massacre them, and tainted the seawater red with their blood. However, he soon reached a dead end, and was about to die. The only reason the martial sovereign lived to tell the tale was because a rainbow fog suddenly appeared to transport him to a different sea. Blood had plot armor even back then. Letting out a sarcastic laugh, Yu Xiao mocks Duan Yue for coming all the way from the Heaven-Sent Empire to the Dusk Flame Empire's Alchemist Association, just to find a young and inexperienced refiner. The boy even patronizingly remarks that he would fall for the old man's schemes and get deceived, annoying him to no end. However, the 7-star martial grandmaster is left feeling like he is the one who will fall into Yun Xiao's hands. At this point though, Yun Xiao only cares about obtaining the Kungo Divine Tree's branch and the poisonous monster blood. So, he asks Duan Yue to clarify the terms of their trade. Still doubtful, the geezer questions just how confident Yun Xiao is in dissipating the pink crystalline dust, only to hear that he has 100% confidence in succeeding. Shocked by the confident boy, Duan Yue proceeds to discuss how they will split the goods and proposes an 8-to-2 ratio in his favor. Never one to accept such bad conditions, Yun Xiao threatens to simply not help the 7-star martial grandmaster if he continues to put forward such unfavorable terms. With an aching heart, Duan Yue comes down to a 6-4 split, albeit still in his favor. Hearing this, Yun Xiao gives him an ultimatum. That is, the goods are to be split amongst them in a 5-5 ratio. However, the boy will keep the Kungo Divine Tree for himself and will also get Duan Yue's help in hunting a 4th-tier or higher sea monster. This makes the geezer completely lose his mind, as a 1-star Great Martial Master getting to keep the Kungo Divine Tree, along with a 5-5 split, is pure blasphemy to him. Hearing his scornful tone, Yun Xiao reprimands Duan Yue for not talking to him with sincerity. The 7-star martial grandmaster goes even crazier than before, wanting to be left for dead in the sea, rather than accepting such horrid terms. Still smirking, Yun Xiao gives the geezer a lesson on taking losses when doing business, and reminds him that a 5-5 split is already a 9 enough deal, considering he has to listen to him for a year anyway. Suddenly, Duan Yue turns around and curses his luck. The senile old man then starts beating himself up as punishment for accepting the bet when he didn't have to. Moments later, Duan Yue turns back around to Yun Xiao with a swollen face. Accepting the 5-5 split, he puts forward a condition, only to get preemptively denied. If it is anything like getting to pick the treasure first, once again giving himself a good beating. For getting into this predicament, Duan Yue calms down and reveals his actual condition. That is, when Yun Xiao has the power to do so, he must help him refine a Taishu Emperor gold pill. Deal or no deal? With almost no hesitation, the reincarnated soul quickly accepts the terms. The geezer questions if he even knows what the pill really is, noting it to be a legendary pill that aids a 9-star martial emperor in breaking through to the martial supreme level. Yet again, Yun Xiao bombards Duan Yue with factual information about the high 8th-tier pill, down to the last detail. After proving his intellect, the boy gets up and decides to move out to handle some important matters. As the 7-star martial grandmaster expresses interest, Yun Xiao promises to talk later on, since he will need his strength then, and brings out a Tiger King battleship from his storage ring. Duan Yue wonders if Yun Xiao should really be flaunting a 5th-tier item like the Tiger King battleship at such a time, as the recent incident with the Xingyang family has put the entire capital on alert. So, doing such a thing will put hundreds of gazes on them. Of course, that is exactly what the reincarnated soul was trying to achieve, becoming Aizen with this one. Finishing up the battleship's formation, Yu Shiyao makes it zoom out of there, making Duan Yue realize that he truly isn't afraid of anything. Noticing the giant Tiger King battleship, the high-level martial artists nearby decide to give chase, while simultaneously sending someone to report the matter. At the same time, Zhu Jin is hard at training in the Dust Flame Empire's shrine. When he suddenly notices Yun Xiao's presence, he quickly appears above the clouds to see him. But it's too late, since the boy has already left in the Heaven-Sent Empire's direction. Over with Yun Xiao, he uses impeccable logic and arrives at the perfect conclusion of causing an even bigger scene. After all, things have already gotten messy, so making them messier will just buy Martial Flame City more time. Unaware that Yun Xiao was the one responsible for exterminating the Xingyang family, Duan Yue questions why he is provoking High Sun City's martial emperors for nothing, and fears for his life. Having faith in the geezer's capabilities to stall the old guys chasing them for a bit, Yu Xiao promises that there's nothing to be afraid of, since the Tiger King battleship's speed will allow them a swift escape. Soon, they arrive at Verdant Seaport in the Heaven-Sent Empire, which is the strongest out of the three empires, in Tianwu's southern region. Despite being a small port, it houses more than half of the empire's martial artists, and has over 10 million people residing there. As such, Verdant City Port has grown to be much bigger and more developed than normal cities. The rich get richer even here. There, Yu Xiao marvels at the sight of a 6th-tier Green Phoenix battleship, having waited for a moment to ridicule the boy. Ever since they met, but not getting a chance to do so, Duan Yue bets that this must be an eye-opening experience for him. The old man yaps about how 5 6th-tier refiners are needed to refine a 6th-tier Green Phoenix battleship, making it an exceptionally rare item to have. Yu Xiao quickly shuts down his parade though, declaring that the only eye-opening thing here is just how poorly made the 6th-tier battleship is, labeling it an empty shell and a waste of materials. The reincarnated soul absolutely destroys Duan Yue's excitement to ridicule him. Stomping around like a gremlin, the geezer reveals that he doesn't like the Green Phoenix battleships either. Of course, it's just because he doesn't have one. So surely a brat like Yu Xiao mustn't know what he's talking about. Bro is clueless. Touched by Duan Yue's honesty, Yu Xiao changes the subject and questions if he knows who owns the only 2 Green Phoenix battleships there. Turns out, one of them belongs to the Thousand Crane Pavilion, whose position in the Heaven-Sent Empire is equivalent to that of the Heaven-Gathering sect in the Dust Flame Empire. As for the other one, it belongs to an even greater faction from the eastern region, named the Star Mansion sect. Thinking that there's finally something Yu Xiao doesn't know about, Duan Yue begins explaining it to him. Of course, the reincarnated soul knows all about them too, as the Star Mansion sect mainly trains in the wave shock technique, which requires sea monster pills in copious amounts. They pay a lot of attention to Verdant Seaport. However, most of their forces are still gathered in the Eastern Sea's Heaven Abyss City, since it holds the richest sea monster resources in Tianwu. Owen, the Star Mansion sect master, is a certified nonce who has a dedicated palace for raising girls to enjoy. The ones he ends up liking become his servants, while those he doesn't end up getting killed or thrown away. Hey Siri, play Meet the Grounds by Kendrick Lamar. Finding out that the sect master is such an evil son of a gun, Duan Yue declares that he should be killed. In the same vein, he throws a tantrum, refusing to accept that a mere 15-year-old knows everything about the world. Of course, there are many things Yu Xiao still doesn't know. However, all of them are far beyond Duan Yue's realm of understanding anyway. In the end, battling the reincarnated soul in a battle of common knowledge is bound to end in a loss. Yu Xiao then decides to take a look around, wanting to buy some things. Taking the only opportunity he has to make fun of the curious little brat, Duan Yue mocks him for being a country bumpkin, who will brag about exploring Verdant Seaport to his family later. Regardless, Yu Xiao starts exploring the city, realizing that every patrol team's team leader is at the Martial King level, with the lowest ranked team member being a great martial master. Seeing this, the reincarnated soul pouts, vowing to develop Martial Flame City to be even greater than Verdant Seaport. Just to be petty against them, using Martial Kings as team leaders, he decides to use Martial Grandmasters as team members in the future. Later, Yu Xiao arrives at the Thousand Treasures Tower branch of Verdant Seaport and is welcomed by a voluptuous receptionist named Xiao Ya. Duan Yuet tries to convince him that he isn't exceptional enough to make a transaction there, only for Yun Xiao to turn around and ask for the person in the highest position. Hearing this, the bubbly demeanor of the receptionist completely changes. She was focused on Duan Yue before, but now she is left wondering if the mighty elder is the boy's servant. Meanwhile, the 7-star martial grandmaster starts worrying about his life, not knowing for sure if Yun Xiao won't just cause trouble there, as anyone who dares to call for the highest authority comes around once every few months to check up on their business. Xiao Ya guesses that Yun Xiao is backed by a great force and respectfully bows before him. To shock her even more, the boy reveals that he wants to make a business deal worth 1 million high-tier primordial stones. After a momentary pause, Xiao Ya leads Yun Xiao somewhere, promising to call the Tower Master there immediately. Meanwhile, the rest of the beauties look on in envy, since Xiao Ya won't have to worry about anything in life if she manages to close the transaction. Just like that, the lady takes her esteemed golden geese to the VVIP room and assures them that the Tower Master will be there soon. As Xiao Ya heads off, Duan Yue questions if Yun Xiao really isn't fooling around, advising him to run away. If this was all a facade, sitting down without a worry in the world, the boy tells the 7-star martial grandmaster to do the same. After all, there is no way he would play with so many lives like this. Yep, totally no way. I, for one, trust him with every fiber of my being. Right then, the Tower Master Yu Kong Shun arrives there. Introducing himself, he asks for the guests' names. The reincarnated soul reveals his name and asks Kong Shun to call them young Master Yun, expressing surprise at a Tower Master like him. Being a martial grandmaster level expert, being humble about his cultivation process, Kong Shun poetically declares that he is nothing compared to Duan Yue. The former then orders Xiao Ya to bring out his treasured top-grade tea leaves, who uses them to brew the 1,000-year deep-seed fermented tea for the guests. Getting handed a cup of the highest-grade tea by a voluptuous woman, Yun Xiao lives in the moment and chatters with the Tower Master without an ounce of nervousness. On the other hand, Duan Yue sits beside him sweating buckets. After getting the pleasantries over with, Kong Shun inquires about the business deal that is supposedly worth 1 million high-tier primordial stones. However, Yun Xiao's next words change the entire mood, as he reveals that he is actually there to borrow items worth 1 million high-tier primordial stones. Duan Yue spits out his tea, while poor Xiao Ya spills the cup she is currently brewing. Kong Shun deems Yun Xiao's words to be a joke, but Duan Yue starts losing it, realizing that a few dozen people oozing with killing intent have surrounded them in an instant. Of course, the reincarnated soul is unfazed even in this situation, and continues sipping on his tea. Seeing his reaction, or rather lack thereof, Kong Shun wonders if a strong force sent him there to cause trouble. While Xiao Ya sighs out her pay raise going out the window, the Tower Master decides to entertain Yun Xiao for now. However, the boy doubles down and confidently announces that he isn't joking at all, making Xiao Ya and Duan Yue both feel like they should run away to avoid the bloodshed that is about to follow. Right then, Yun Xiao throws the card he got from Yin Xiaoyang onto the table and wonders how much it can borrow. Seeing the boy in possession of a real 1,000 Treasures VIP card, Kong Shun is left in disbelief and immediately prostrates himself. Feeling nervous around the first tier VIP, the Tower Master tries to bring up that the card is for getting large discounts at any 1,000 Treasures Tower branch and isn't typically for borrowing stones. First time for everything, lil bro. However, even getting these words out almost makes him puke his guts out, since there are less than 10 first-tier VIP cards in the entire South region. In fact, Kong Shun himself doesn't have the authority to distribute them. Seeing him in such a state, Duan Yue is yet again left questioning the identity of the person he has decided to follow. Of course, such a card isn't a big deal to the reincarnated soul, who knows of at least 4 higher-tier cards than it. For instance, there are only 5 of the highest Supreme-tier VIP cards in the entirety of the Tianwu continent, being simple pieces of wood in their form. Although Yun Xiao didn't have one of those in his previous life, he did have a tier-lower Jade card, which makes the 1,000 Treasures Tower's first-tier card pale in comparison. Ro was just flexing at this point. Knowing how to hit a nerve, Yun Xiao threatens to sell the card elsewhere if his demand isn't fulfilled. since the entire southern region's prices will suffer if a commerce guild manages to get their hands on a first-tier VIP's 30% discount. Kang Shun worries about the consequences it will bring to his status. Without giving him any time to breathe at all, Yun Xiao offers to give a discount to the Tower Master if he buys it and starts walking off. Since the reincarnated soul will be in Verdant Seaport for a few days, he gives Kang Shun until the end of his stay there to think about his proposal. The Tower Master respectfully sees Yun Xiao off, offering to help him if he ever faces any challenges in Verdant Seaport. This prompts the boy to give Kang Shun a proud look, declaring that he has a bright future ahead of him. Alerted by these kind words, the Tower Master thanks Yun Xiao, bidding him farewell with a bow. After the boy leaves, the Tower Master puts Xiao Ya in charge and starts heading off to the Heaven-Sent Empire's branch. In his absence, he instructs the lady to do whatever Yun Xiao wants, except to lend him money, offering to increase her pay tenfold if she does the job well. Back over with Yun Xiao, he asks little Yu Wei to lead the way, using any opportunity he can to mock the boy. A 7-star martial grandmaster is about to start ranting when a voice suddenly calls out for him. Ma 1D of the Heaven-Sent Empire's soaring sword sect shows up and invites his old buddy, Duan Yue, to participate in a large group hunt, only to get repeatedly rejected. He's just like me, not taking no for an answer. Ma 1D tempts the old man with a chance at taking down a 6th-tier sea monster. Since a sea beast that strong requires there to be a martial emperor in the hunting group, Duan Yue asks Yun Xiao for permission, but gives him the go-ahead to participate. Grinning from ear to ear, Ma 1D reveals that the hunting group will be made up of Elder Hunya of the Hunya sect, the 4 Edge Corps Shi Hong Kai, the Slaying Tiger Clan's Yan Fei Yue, the C2 couple, and him, including Duan Yue. The hunting group will have 7 people, making the 7-star martial grandmaster understand that they intend to use the 7-star striking array to take down the monster. He then wonders what beast they are hunting, getting told that it's a violet 9-strike moth. Hearing this, Duan Yue thinks that Ma 1D has gone crazy. After all, a violet 9-strike moth is a 7th-tier beast. However, Yun Xiao is extremely intrigued and questions if they are hunting a young moth. Ma 1D confirms Yun Xiao's hypothesis, as not even martial emperors would dare to go after a fully grown violet 9-striped moth. He repeatedly tries to convince Duan Yue that this is a once-in-a-deca millennium opportunity, a notion that Yun Xiao agrees with. According to legends, violet 9-striped moths have the bloodline of ancient true dragons. Being just 6th-tier as younglings, they mature to evolve into 7th-tier beasts. However, their evolution doesn't stop there. If allowed to live to 500 years old, they become 8th-tier creatures. Similarly, a 1,000-year-old violet 9-striped moth can break through to the 9th tier. At that level, if the beast can overcome a disaster, it can even recover its ancient dragon bloodline to transform into a dragon, thus entering the mythical 10 ultimate realm. Seeing Yun Xiao possess such knowledge, Ma 1D guesses that he belongs to an exceptional family and is Duan Yue's disciple. Bro, really disrespecting my goat like this? The soaring sword sect member once again asks the old man if he is in, prompting him to discuss the matter with Yun Xiao. Fortunately, the highly poisonous blood of the 6th-tier beast is exactly what he is looking for, albeit worrying about its distribution in case of a successful hunt. Watching them talk, Ma 1D feels like the power balance in their relationship is a bit off. Regardless, he reveals that the loot will be split 8 ways. As the organizer, Ma 1D will take 2 shares, while the rest get 1 share each, along with 50,000 high-tier primordial stones. Those with higher cultivation levels will get the first picks, while the organizer will get the last pick to make things fair. Confirming that little Yue's cultivation is only matched by Elder Hunya and utterly eclipses the rest, Yun Xiao agrees to participate. Hearing this, a 7-star martial grandmaster celebrates and gets excited to check out what the violet 9-strike moth is like beforehand. Since not even major factions have managed to recruit Duan Yue, is listening to an inexperienced youth completely confuses Ma 1D and his brain goes wild. If the boy isn't the old man's disciple, but is still a great martial master at such a young age, there can only be one logical conclusion. Yeah, that must be it. Yun Xiao must be Duan Yue's illegitimate child. Nah, dude burned down the whole kitchen with this cooking. Not wanting to delay things any further, Ma 1D leaves the supposed father-son duo to a Tiger King battleship. Feeling excited to head out to sea, He invites Yun Xiao and Duan Yue inside, where everyone is waiting for them. Entering the room, they come up on a group of impressive martial artists, staying around a round table having a feast. As Ma Wandi tells the duo to help themselves, Elder Hunya starts bantering with Duan Yue. Taking a seat, a 7-star martial grandmaster claps back with an even harsher remark, infuriating Elder Hunya. However, Duan Yue reminds him that they are both on completely equal footing. Since none of them can beat the other, they shouldn't act all high and mighty, pretending like they can either. While Yun Xiao takes note of Elder Hunya smoking some soul grass, which is good for a person's body and cultivation, Duan Yue introduces the rest of the martial artists to Yun Xiao, as well-known Six Directions realm martial grandmasters in Verdant Seaport. He goes through their names and sects one by one, starting with the Square Pavilion's middle-aged scholar, Shi Hong Kai. Next up on the list is the tiger-slaying Sexion Yan Fei Yue, followed up by Situ Xing and his partner, Tong Chiao. Being quite renowned in Verdant Seaport, the C2 couple assumes the looks of people in their 20s. In reality, though, both of them are old creatures, in the 80 to 90 years old bracket. Hearing Duan Yue's snarky remark, the two are about to snap when Yun Xiao suddenly introduces himself in a very respectful manner. Deciding that it's time to get down to business, Duan Yue asks Ma Wandi to show the map where he spotted the violet 9-striped moth. The Soaring Sword sect member excitedly fulfills the old man's request and points him to the beast's location. However, Duan Yue doesn't like what he sees and slams the desk. After all, the violet 9-striped moth is within 30 miles of the deadly rainbow fog. Being at his wit's end, the old man looks over to Yun Xiao to see what he thinks. Of course, a master manipulator and habitual liar like the reincarnated soul hasn't flinched so much as an inch. At the same time, Elder Hunya spots the change in Duan Yue's expression and questions if there is something wrong with the location. Knowing that there is no one to blame but himself for this, the 7-star martial grandmaster tries to play dumb. However, it's too late to do so. Since the information he's withholding might be a matter of life or death, everyone jumps on him to spill it. Duan Yue starts trembling in fear, wondering what he should do now. Telling them the truth isn't an option, but making up a lie on the spot isn't in the cards either. In his heart, the geezer starts cursing Yun Xiao for putting him in this predicament. Right then, the reincarnated soul chimes in to save the day. He makes up a lie about it being the place where Duan Yue got the bloodfish fungus, a legendary earthly treasure that can greatly increase a person's strength upon consumption. Realizing that he can't compare to the quick-witted kid, Duan Yue takes full advantage of the assist and bursts out in tears. The old man comes up with a tragic tale of being the only survivor out of a party of 7, all because of the cruel bloodfish fungus. While everyone else gets alerted, Elder Hunya doesn't buy it. Acting, old man. After all, Duan Yue is still at the same cultivation level as when they first met. However, this situation ends up giving the old man the perfect chance to take revenge for everything Yun Xiao has put him through. Patting the boy on the head, Duan Yue reveals that the boy ate the bloodfish fungus. Since he couldn't have taken it normally, the old man split the treasure into over 1,000 portions to feed it to him. That is exactly how he became a great martial master at just 15 years of age, as 80 to 90% of the bloodfish fungus effects are lost by consuming it in such a way. Duan Yue announces that family is more important than cultivation, insinuating that Yun Xiao is his child. Having had enough of the old man's shenanigans, Yun Xiao fights back and shouts at his big bro to stop talking. With tears flowing down his face, the boy reminds Duan Yue that they are just stepbrothers, born of the same mothers, so he should stop treating him like a real younger brother. When he makes it big, Yun Xiao vows to repay everything Duan Yue has done for him. These words cause silence to descend on the entire room, as this would mean the 100-year-old geezer's mother would have found a different man to birth a 15-year-old son. While Yun Xiao wipes his tears, everyone gets invested in the family drama, making Duan Yue realize that he walked into something he truly shouldn't have. Poor Du literally exploded.